What's going on, Reality After Show? We are back talking Survivor 48 and more, obviously. I am Lauren. I have Melissa, Adrian, and Connor joining me today. How is everybody?
Awesome.
Fantastic here.
Yeah, can't complain. At least in real life, I can definitely complain about this season of Survivor, though. So I am ready to talk about it. But Lauren, take the reins. What are we talking about? Give us the lowdown, the scoop.
We're talking 48. We have to start there. And so last time we did this podcast, I was on the train of, all right, we're seeing some movement here. This season is progressing. I'm loving it now. And then slowly but surely, it sent me in a different direction. And I am now on the fence of, where is the season going to rank for me? And it's not even about the people, truly. It's mostly the gameplay for me, in the sense of, I just want to see something happen. And I know everyone talks about, well, this is what old school used to look like. No. Old school had so many more elements to it than what this season has. And I'm just getting tired of the redundant same, rewards, not really going anywhere. Just there's something lacking. How are y'all feeling about it?
I'm so disappointed. I've got to say, I was loving the pre-merge. I was so big into this season. I thought we had some great characters. I thought there were some great tribals. And it's not so much that nothing's happening that's upsetting me in terms of big moves and whatnot. It's that we keep getting told that something is going to happen until the last second, building up hope that I know that I shouldn't have, just to get ripped away from me every week.
But to me, that is what old school Survivor was. When you look at the begonging, when you look at a lot of those earlier seasons, they always said, are they going to flip? Are they going to flip? Are they going to flip? And then they end up not flipping. That's how old school Survivor was. Yeah. So I'm going to push back on that opinion just slightly, but it's definitely not as compelling TV as when we see more dynamic gameplay. And, I think the product as a whole just suffers because of that.
Melissa, take it away. I know you have a different opinion on this, which is why you are here. Truly, this is why you're here.
I actually am really liking this season. I actually think this is the best season of the new era. Anything past 40, 41, 42, 41, 40 to 47. I will admit the gameplay has been the rewards and stuff like that are kind of they're kind of silly to me. There hasn't been anything that's been really oh, this is just absolutely just amazing that they're doing this, and the challenges haven't been the greatest thing ever. But I guess I'm reading into it completely different than everybody else, because I'm actually seeing strategic play from people. I'm actually seeing, I personally think Ava is completely clueless, but she's openly admitted that she's clueless. She's not playing her stuff like she's going to. But I also feel that we're not seeing a lot of stuff that's going on. Like this last one that was on there, I personally really feel that Ava would have played something for Joe if he was really that paranoid. But I think we missed a whole dynamic of making him not paranoid anymore. So she didn't play anything, because I think she would have given him anything, the idol, anything that he wanted in order to make sure that he was safe, if he would have came to her and sat there and said, I'm not feeling this. I need to have something. So something, somehow, somewhere made him feel safe enough to not ask her for anything.
Yeah, no, I definitely think the editing is what's really hurting this season more than anything. Yes. Just to Connor's point earlier on, it's just it's a whole lot of buildup with not a lot of payoff. And that's frustrating to watch when people are playing a sound social game. In the earlier seasons where we had the begongings and whatnot, it was a much more interesting dynamic because people weren't playing so close to the chest. People were willing to fly off the cuff. People did have conflict. People did have arguments and whatnot, which still made it compelling television. But nowadays, when everybody plays so close to the chest, everybody's worried about ruffling each other's feathers. Everybody's worrying about making it to the finals and then getting the votes at the end. So it's that's not compelling. So the dynamic of the vote is what made it more interesting. And I feel with this season, the way that it's going, it's we're not getting that compelling part, and then we're not getting the conflict, which why are we watching it then?
To me, I think everything screwed up once nobody listened to David. David had to completely read on every single thing that was going on. And for some reason, and once again, this is where I sit there and say, I seen amazing strategic play in that. Kyle and Shaheen had set up Eva and Joe days before, sitting there already putting it in their head. He's being paranoid. He's talking about this. He's more close with Mary. He's going to do all this stuff. I mean, and then he started playing it out. They had such a read on David that they were able to manipulate Eva and Joe to be able to flip on him and sit there and say, okay, we need to get David out. And that was all Kyle and Shaheen. They did it in the background. They did it silently. They did it deadly. They did it everything that they possibly could. And then they sat there and executed it when they had to. Now, once they voted David out, then it became okay, well, now we have to go back to this loyal game because that's what Joe and Ava are only playing on. Mm-hmm. That's the literally only thing that they have going for them. I mean, they're winning challenges and stuff like that, but in all honesty, we all know that the jury doesn't care about who wins what challenges. They're like, okay, how did you actually play the game?
Yeah.
Well, so the issue with David is, I think, correct read all around, but you approached people in such a way that was a huge turnoff for them. And that is the issue I'm talking about with the gameplay. You were there with the first step, maybe even the second step, but the third step in closing the job, not there whatsoever. Yeah. And that's what turned people off. Yeah, there was no closer there. If you have the finisher, I think we see the game completely different if David is successful in what David wanted to do.
Yeah, and I think David had a really big problem with recognizing the skin that he's in. When you're in a position of power, there's a certain way that you have to approach people in order to make them feel respected and make them feel as though they are part of the decision making. David was in the driver's seat. So when you come at people with a certain degree of authority and you're in a position of power, it really turns people off. It's playing from the top versus playing from the bottom. Somebody like David, if he came with that type of personality trying to play from the bottom, at least it would have that context that he doesn't have the power to back it up. So then that's a little bit more of an acceptable personality trait from somebody when they're not in, the hierarchy of everything. And David just didn't recognize that, and he played it wrong.
Yeah,
completely.
I completely agree with that. Me too. But I do think that was just a huge turning point for the whole entire game because, I mean, obviously everything's a huge turning point. But if they would have actually stuck with David and been like, okay, let's actually see this, I think that the game would have became a much more cutthroat game. I think it would have been a totally different than what it is at this point. But getting David out was the easy move to make it just go smooth for the rest of the game. And to me, the ultimate goal of Survivor is not how you played the game, it's to win the $1 million at the end. So no matter what, your game is going to reflect how you best feel you're going to win the game. Joe is actually leading great right now because he's like, okay, I'm going to sit there and say that loyalty and all of my amazing traits that I have is what I'm going to keep on emphasizing on the story in order to make sure that at the end I sit there and say, I've stuck to the story the whole entire time. And so he's playing the game best for his game. Everybody always does. Well, majority of people. Right now I'm questioning Kyle, but it's but majority of the times that's how people play in order to actually win the game. The whole point of the game is to win the game. It's not to, oh, well, I could just sit there and say that I made the best move at the end of the day, but I didn't care that I won.
My fear with Joe is that, yes, he can play as honorably as he can, as he's trying to. Obviously, we all know that there's no completely honorable way to play the game because you have to vote people out. That is the way the game works. That's the way it's manufactured. And I'm scared that he's going to get to the very end. David's going to come at him with the whole, you turned on me, you told me you were loyal to me thing. And I think it's going to be a story very similar to Lee's from Australian Survivor season 1 of the reboot, 2016. And he's going to sit there and not own up to any of his mistakes. And I think that's what's going to make him, I believe, lose. And I'm going to throw out maybe a Shaheen win, potentially.
Okay.
Can I say how I think it's going to play out? Or how I think would be the greatest way to okay.
Absolutely.
So, this is how I see the whole entire thing. And this is why I'm like, okay, I see a great strategic game. And it's all from Kyle. I think Kyle is playing a game that is just so amazing. And I think that his next moves, what he should make in order to win this game is he needs to, Mitch is the only factor that I don't have a place for him in this final for Kyle to win. I think that Kyle needs to get Shaheen out next, or Camilla, either one. To get Shaheen out, he needs to send him to the jury, so that way he goes to the jury and sits there and brags about he was the one that led the David vote, the David blindside. So he now starts softening David up to vote for Kyle at the end, because now David won't have as much animosity against Kyle. So that's now David and Mary together as a vote. He then sends Camilla packing to the jury, because Camilla's, no matter what, she wants to see him win. She's going to go to the jury and she's going to advocate hardcore for Kyle to be the winner. She'll be sitting there saying how great he was, what he's been doing, how he's been doing. She'll start influencing the jury like crazy on that. He keeps Joe and Ava sitting right beside him, because they could never go and give their side of the story at all to the jury to ever play that game, to sit there and tell them how they seen things, how things were going. So he keeps their story silent, and all it looks like is that they played this loyal game to each other, and they really can't fight anything other than that to that jury. So now he has all these jury votes because Camilla's advocated for him. Shaheen has sat there and told everybody that it was his that screwed them over. Kyle was the nice guy. He then has a golden ticket to winning. But I see that as a strategic play on him if he actually follows that path. And then he could still sit there and go, but I was loyal to Eva and Joe the whole entire time. I never went behind their back. I never voted them out. So he has all factors of the story to win the game. And all Joe and Ava have are, well, we were loyal to each other and we won a couple immunities.
I would love a Kyle win. I think he's my favorite character of the season by far so far. I think he's had the biggest edit, if I'm not mistaken, like confessional-wise and stuff, of the season at this point. But I don't think that the players view him as we do. Obviously, they don't know about Kyle and Camilla. They don't know that he's keeping this secret about being a lawyer, which... Can I throw it out there? Why is being a lawyer such a problem on Survivor? I'm so confused by that.
I'll answer your question real quick. So here's my thing. If someone tells me that they're a lawyer, I don't want them sitting at Final Tribal Council with me, because they know how to advocate for anything pretty much. And they have the experience of sitting in front of a jury and being able to speak properly. And that goes a long way in Survivor. You see people have brilliant games and they lose at Final Tribal Council because they don't know how to speak to a jury.
I feel foolish for not picking up on the fact that, of course, they spend their time in a courtroom.
Well, it depends on the type of lawyer that they are. It's like, are they a pettit lawyer, or are they just like write contracts and shit like that? I mean, like that is also like not every lawyer stands up in front of a jury and pleads a case, etc. But do you want to take that chance?
And let's be honest. I mean, Kyle's already sitting there saying that he's so worried about, hurting Joe, and that he would lose his game about hurting Joe. I don't think he's standing up in front. He's probably like a will lawyer. He's like let me just write this trust for you or something. Because it's like, if you're worried about this part, how are you going to feel about sending people to prison for the rest of their life? So...
Yeah, it's like a difference between being like a defense attorney versus being a like a contract lawyer, a labor lawyer, like all of that stuff. Those are different skill sets, but the overarching narrative in America is that lawyers suck and they're horrible people and they're all rich. So what about that do you want to take to the end of the game? That's like they're willing to lie, they're willing to cheat, they're willing to steal anything in order to win. So that puts and anybody who says that they're a lawyer in my crosshairs for at least saying, okay, you're at least an unsavory character. You at least have the ability and capability to lie and do it with carte blanche.
What is the number of lawyers that actually have one Survivor?
I think one.
I think just one. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, it was just...
Apparently they're not that good against the juries.
They rarely don't make it to the end.
Yeah, you have to do the math of who's gotten to the end. That's a lawyer. That's the other thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What about Sean from Australian Survivor again? Incredible Final Tribal Council performances. Twice I've heard. Then, for those who don't know, she's lost twice in being a barrister. But... my fear, though, for Kyle is that the others are going to perceive Kyle as Joe's lackey, Shaheen more as a number two than Kyle, potentially. I think they think that he could be pulling some strings. I don't think they're going to have as much respect for Joe as we've been made to believe.
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
Eva's thrown herself under the bus, and I would prefer a Kyle win, but I'm scared that he hasn't got the same respect as a Shaheen or a...
But
well,
that's where I sit there and say his smart move would be send Camilla to the jury to start advocating for him. I mean, we learned that from season 46. Tiffany went in hardcore to Ponderosa for Kenzie and got everybody to vote for Kenzie. I mean, I don't care what anybody says. That was all Tiffany. Tiffany won that season for Kenzie. She went to Ponderosa. She sat there and made rules while they were asking questions. She was like, y'all are going to direct this at Kenzie. You guys are going to ask the nice questions to Kenzie. You guys are going to... So, I mean, and they just came off seeing that. So anybody who doesn't put that in their head that says, you know what, if I send my number one to the jury at a certain time, they're going to advocate hardcore for me. Like, honestly, if I was... Me and Lauren were playing Survivor. She booted me out at 5. I guarantee you I'd be on Ponderosa the whole entire time. Oh my God, Lauren's amazing. Oh my God, Lauren's going to do this. You just seen when she did this. You could have done this. She did. I mean, I will be constantly just talking about Lauren to win. You get it in their head. You paint them in a positive light. You're going to do everything you can. It's one of those things. You paint that narrative and you have a lot more time with people at Ponderosa to think it. Half the time the jury comes in already with their mind made up. I know they sit there and say, my mind's not made up. That's BS. And we all know that.
It has to be the right number one, though. That's where it really comes down to, because you do see people can be very, very bitter. Look at Charlie. Look at Charlie's season. There it is. We're going hitting with Charlie right here. It has to be the correct person. And you have to have that awareness to know this person's not going to be bitter. They're going to commend the gameplay. And so you just have to be able to see that. If you can't see it and you send the incorrect person, they could be advocating against you, and it could really hurt you in the end too.
But in this situation, Camilla has already said
correct
that to Kyle. I mean, it's been said, it's there. There is no doubt in anybody's mind that Camilla is not going to sit there and advocate for him.
Oh yeah, no. I think that they're holding that relationship back for a reveal, like very similar to 42 and Marianne, where she held the idol until the very end. I think that they're going to hold that relationship until the end, whether they put Camilla onto the jury or not, or Kyle goes to the jury. We don't know how this is going to play out. Yeah, but they're going to have that reveal of like, we were working everything behind the scenes, and I saved Camilla at the Chrissy vote. And you didn't even know that we were as close as we were. And I think that that's going to garner some respect from at least some people on the jury. But that's also showing a loyalty game that would be impressive to some other people on the jury. So I do agree with you. I do think that we're seeing a Kyle win coming here. But as far as how deep I've thought about it, not as much as you, because I like the season just doesn't hold my attention as much as I want it to, you know. But yeah, no, I definitely see a Kyle win coming down the road, and I think that Camilla is definitely going to be instrumental in making that happen if she gets put to the jury, which I think she's going to.
If someone from the Strong Four doesn't win, does that boost our opinion of the season? Does that make the whole thing more worth it, do you think?
I don't have a problem with the Strong Four. I really don't. I don't. Like, I know a lot of people on the internet do. I don't.
I absolutely have no problem with it. I don't see this as any different than Dee and Austin going to the final. I mean, they had their Strong Four. I don't see it any different. The only difference is that people seem to get mad because these are strong people. I'm like, that is literally the only thing that's pissing people off, is that these are 4 people that are the jocks, I guess, of the school or whatever. And I'm like, so what? They finally came together. This is the first season you've ever seen this happen. But it's not unlike other things that have happened in the past. I mean, Rob literally led people around and told them they couldn't talk to anybody. And they were like, okay, but people love Boston Rob. Yeah. And it's like, this is exactly the same. It's just, it's a different dynamic than what we've ever seen before.
Yeah. My issue with it is the Joe almost entitlement of it all from last episode. I completely don't have a problem with them keeping this 4 and trying to stay strong to the end, but they have to anticipate that someone's going to take a shot at them. And it's like they think that that's disgraceful that anyone would try. When Joe heard his name and he got so offended, that's what I've got a problem with. It's not them existing, it's the fact that they think that everyone should be so pleased with their existence.
See, I didn't say it as he got offended. I see it as he got, okay, well, now I got to do some preparing. I mean, anybody that hears their name, they're like, okay, well, if Mary has an idol, I'm going to get voted out. He was saying exactly what he said. And he was like, we need to throw a spare vote on somebody because if not, I'm 1,000% gone. Now, everybody else was calm about it. They're like, oh, it's no big deal because they knew both the plans. And so they were trying to keep him to not do that spare vote because they were like, if we get him out, we don't want him to have another vote on somebody else. So they knew what was behind the scenes. I think his reaction was completely acceptable because anybody would have been that way. Anybody who hears their name, we've seen it. I mean, look at Say every single time she heard her name, she'd get pissed off and she'd be like, I'm going right after that person. We've heard that so many times. Oh my goodness. Sue last season. Oh, I can't stand Kyle because he wrote my name down. Somebody's name's going to get written down. It's going to happen. You just have to strategically think, how is that going to happen? Now, I hate the fact that they didn't go from him having that conversation to how all of a sudden he didn't vote that way. He's kept Mary's vote. He trusted everybody, and Ava didn't play anything on him. That part, I'm like, I hate that we missed that. I don't know how it went from that to that. And that's the part that I think annoys a bunch of people because they're like, well, he just got arrogant about it. And he was just like, how dare my name come up? And it's like, no, everybody does that. Every single season, everybody acts like that.
A great deal of people always have that reaction whenever their name is written down because like that, you want to keep your name out of other people's mouths. You know, how you go about it is another story. And again, it's going to come back to knowing the shell that you're in. So Joe is in a, physically prowess, strong, muscular body who comes from a domineering type of aggressive stance, just imposing physically. If you come at people like that, you're going to have a different perception from people than Camilla coming at you like that. And that's Joe not recognizing that, you have to play to your appearance like you do. Like as much as you shouldn't have to, in a perfect world, in a perfect society, everyone should be able to have the same type of gameplay. But we see this all the time in almost every season of Survivor. It's like a person who is of Camilla's stature cannot play the same game as somebody who has Joe's stature and vice versa.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now, to go to Adrian's point, I do agree that he went to the wrong, at least they showed him going to the wrong person. You can't go to Shaheen, who's had a name written down 3 or 4 times, and sit there and say, oh my God, my name got voted out. It's like, so what? So has mine.
Yeah. It was the way he went about it. It wasn't the content of what he was saying.
Yeah.
It was who he went to, like you said, and the way he acted that situation to them.
Yeah, his tact is a little bit off.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Like the only thing
it's going to cost him the game in the end, one way or another, I think. I don't think Joe's winning this game.
I agree. I don't think he's winning either.
No,
I don't think he's winning at all either. I don't think that he's going to have the gameplay to it. The only thing with the strong
he's going to make Turner.
The only thing that's wrong with the strong 4 for me is Ava drives me nuts with her cluelessness. And I get that she has said that she's clueless, but I'm like, oh my gosh, girl. I mean, the fact that they were at that thing and she's like, oh, and I'm playing my my immunity. If I don't win immunity, then I'm going to give it to Joe. And you guys have to know my whole entire plan. I'm like, she just like out there saying everything. And I'm like,
yeah, can we talk about Eva?
Everybody knows you guys are strong too. You don't need to keep on reminding them you're strong too. It's like, I don't get it. She drives me nuts.
Yeah, no, we got to talk about Eva. I think that this season is going to go down in the same type of controversy as 35. I think that there is, I think in every season of Survivor, there's production shenanigans in one way or another just to try to get, certain outcomes and whatnot, even though they don't have direct say over what happens over in the game. I do think that they can nudge one way or another, but I do have a problem with the nudging this season. The first thing that I felt is the most egregious thing, which may have happened in the past, we don't know, but it was very transparent in the edit, was Eva getting the reward and the advantage after her immunity win. we have to talk about that. That was geared specifically for her, and that was not something that was illustrated or told to the team or to the survivors prior to the challenge. So that begs to have the question of, did production say like, well, if Eva gets it, we're going to give her a little something extra because we want to see an Eva win. We want to see this Eva and Joe dynamic play out long term.
See, I don't think that's how it works, because from what I understand is that they have to have all the advantage and everything pre-done before the season even starts. Like, that's the way that it has to go. They have to put it into whatever like script, like they have to sit there and say, this is going to happen, this is going to happen, this is going to happen. So I think that it was just a coincidence that it was, I mean, that's why they had the nameplates. And that's why her sat there and said, because you did so well at this challenge, you're getting a secret advantage. It would have been for any of the 4 that were there, whoever won.
So let's take that even further and go to this past week where Eva went on the thing and got the advantage. She was supposed to stack it 4 high, and if at the end of the timer the 4 high was not there, she was going to lose her vote. And what happened? She hit it over, and the 4 wasn't there when the timer ran out. She should have lost her vote. Why did she not lose her vote?
Production. I'm sure that she talked about it with production.
That's putting a lot of faith in production there.
Yeah.
Like, I agree with that, because I was like, ooh, she knocked it down. She pulled a Michelle, but it was like, but I don't think she would have had done that without somebody saying, go ahead and do that. We want to get that on video or something.
Or was it that, I'm playing a little bit of a devil's advocate here because I'm very very skeptical to the way this season is playing out. But like, did she not understand the rules the way that they were illustrated, and then she knocked them over, and then production gave her a free pass?
No, I don't think that would have happened. But again, I don't know. I mean, but I don't think that would have happened, because I think that would have been a huge, outrage of Survivor fans. I mean, they already are. Honestly,
they're already. They're already.
It's going to be an answer that's going to come later. I don't think it's going to come right now, but I think it is going to come later. But I honestly think that it was told, go ahead and do that so we could film this. It's fine if you want to knock it down. You've already got the 4. I know that it said on the actual thing, it said, if at the end of the timer there's not at least the 4. But I don't remember if it sat there and said you could stop at 4 or not. I don't remember. I don't have it memorized.
It said you had to have 4 stacks when the timer ran out.
Yeah. Okay.
It's going to be addressed in some form of an exit interview, some form of a post-game interview. That question will be addressed. We know that, no doubt about it. And I do think as well, with the advantage that was given at the reward, that will be talked about too. So I believe we will get all the answers, but I don't think that production really tried to push anything with this. I just believe it's luck. A lot of luck is involved in this game.
She was literally the last one to pick a rock. She got the purple. I guarantee you the production wasn't in that bag being like, okay, well, you get this rock, you get that rock. I mean, it all happened that she happened to be the last one to grab the rock, and she grabbed the right rock.
I agree with that statement, but where my shenanigans start for me is where the chat, like, she was on the island, she would have lost her vote, and then she got a pass on top of her getting the additional advantage already. It's like Ben losing at the final 4 in HVH. HVH. There's too many H's. Was the fire thing, or the Dawn of the Fire making challenge at the final 4, was that production shenanigans trying to get Ben into the finals? Or do you think that was a decision that was made prior to the season that just so happened to play out to a point where a guy who is a military veteran, who had a very big heart story, who was a big hero, ended up screwing up on the very last challenge, and then miraculously they were like, oh, it's okay, because we actually planned this 5 months ago that he was going to get a second chance here?
So I'm gonna
like, it's a conspiracy theory. It's conspiracy. It is, because we can't prove that.
Unfortunately, with all of these advantages and all this stuff that's going on, production is screwing itself by making it think that it's more involved than it is. Like, the whole fact that Mary pulled she went and played her stupid thing that you don't have to vote.
Shot in the dark.
There you go, the shot in the dark. She played her shot in the dark. She ended up getting the shot in the dark. She ended up staying because of the shot in the dark. I mean, so many people are like, was that production done because they wanted Mary to stay, because they wanted the whole entire thing? I mean, there's so many like question marks behind all this stuff that production is putting into it. And I think that's where the problem exists with all these advantages and everything that's coming out, because they're like, this is too much production. They're not making it about the show anymore. They're making it about these chances that people are not really getting an answer to, because they sit there and say, do you want to use the shot in the dark? How do we know that the shot in the dark, once they played it, they're like, let's put safe in there.
Mm-hmm.
and
it's 100% possibility. There's supposed to be fairness judges on set. How much influence they have, or how much in the know they are of everything, or whether or not they're on board, I don't know. You know, they are a money-making business at the end of the day. They're trying to make entertainment. And I understand that they're not in the hand, or their hand's not in the pot in everything. I understand that. And I totally agree with that. But I do think that there are opportunities where they can nudge things to get towards outcomes they want. Jeff has been on record saying is like, we have an outcome in mind, and then we try to engineer the game to try to get to a specific outcome. He said that about Game Changers, which is why they wanted the scenario of Advantage Getting. So they tried to cook everything to try to get to that point. The players at the end have the final agency as to what goes on, but they can definitely have influence as to people's mind frame with questions that they may ask in production or in their interviews, etc. They also have very, 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 very dialed in pre-screening for everybody on here. They probably know that Joe and Eva are going to be the way that they are, but prior to the season. So they cast them on the same tribe because they want that dynamic. They want to tell that story. Now, at the end of the day, Eva has an opportunity to not tell Joe about her autism and stuff like that. Those are all choices that are made in game. However, during their interview process, they probably have questions along those lines to find out what that mental state is and what she would be looking for in an alliance partner. And they know psychologically the type of person that Joe is. He's a protector. He looks for people that he can provide for, etc. So by knowing those two things about those people, put them on the same tribe, we're bound to get fireworks.
I mean, they do that, and they do the exact opposite of that too. I mean, Joe has came out and sat there and said, putting Star and me together on a tribe, he's like, I guarantee you all my friends at home were sitting there yelling about, oh my goodness, that is his complete like kryptonite over there. That's the person that, he was like, so they try to get those dynamics. Absolutely. They try to find people that are like, okay, but you're right. It's up to those people to actually connect with each other.
Absolutely. It's 100% their decisions on the island. The things that I worry about are the things like Eva getting an extra advantage for winning immunity when that never happens. You know, it's very similar to the idea of the I-24 was that shenanigans at that point. Like, I don't know if you know that conspiracy theory as well.
With
so yeah, with the double vote out if I-2 wins because of the bottle. The magic bottle with the note in it. Like, were there two bottles? That's always a question that the fan base has, you know. But there's always an opportunity for that, and we have to put our faith in the integrity of SEG, Survivor Entertainment Group, that they are providing a fair and free way to play this game. And
I've heard too many times. Sorry, I've heard too many times from too many people that have played on Survivor that have said that they have to submit every advantage, everything that they're doing per episode when they're doing it. So and that's before the season even starts. I've heard they have to do that. So
I've heard that too.
Slip something in there.
Yeah, I've 100% heard that too. It's just that the temptation to do that in order to make compelling television, I think, is something that, you know, can be pushed one way or another. I understand that it's conspiracy at the end of the day, and I don't have any evidence to back this up. So it is conjecture on my part, but it's a little too perfect for me not to question it.
Right, but there's so many other scenarios that you could question. Think about 45, same thing with Caleb there with the shot in the dark. There's so many points you can point out from various different seasons, and that's why, for myself as a viewer, I just know that for me, I can confidently say, I believe they put on the fairest game that they can possibly have, but a lot comes down to, as I said, luck. You need luck in order to win this game. You cannot play a perfect game without getting that little bit of luck. Do I get stuck on the correct tribe with somebody? Does a swap go in my direction? Does an advantage play go my way? I mean, think about from last season, Rachel, for instance. If that tribal council doesn't happen with Sol giving that advantage, Rachel goes home and Rachel doesn't win the game. So you have to look at so many different elements. That's why Survivor is such a hard game to play, in my opinion, because so many things have to go the correct way in order for you to get that seat at the final tribal council.
I mean, I could go into a whole thing about the Sol getting the advantage thing, but
See, exactly my point. You know what I mean? Exactly my point. There's so many things that you can nitpick with that it's endless.
It
It
is.
It's completely endless. There's so many scenarios from various different seasons that you could go with there.
Yeah, and just to be 100% clear on this, I'm not asserting that this is fact. This is conjecture. This is thought. This is not backed up by anything that is true. So if anybody is listening to this and like, oh my God, they're doing that. No, I am conjecture. I am thinking about the possibility of it. All right. I'm not asserting that it's true. So don't shoot me.
Connor, what do you think?
I am on the side. I'm on the side of you, Lauren. I think it's complete luck. I don't know, but I hope that after the Driebergen of it all, they wouldn't risk getting that same fire back again. And like you said, there are so many things that could go one way or the other. I don't know. In what there's always going to be a world where someone gets more than they should. If you run this 1,000 times, this game, there's always going to be a possibility that one person gets every advantage, and that's just the way the cookie crumbles, the dice rolls sometimes. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's a game of luck, and I think that's just what's happened this season. I'm not convinced that if they wanted to protect someone, it would be Eva. I think it's very possible it could be. I think they're more likely to love the Joe of it than either of it. And again, this is just me throwing out my conspiracy, but I'm not certain that Eva is the person that they would be saying advantage. I think this is more about how Joe looked after Eva than how Eva overcame her difficulties.
Right on. I want to also talk about someone we haven't mentioned. It's Star. We didn't really get to pinpoint that. I need Star to return, not tomorrow, yesterday, because I love Star. I think Star will be back for some type of second chance type of season. Will not be on 50. But I think if Star is in a different game with different people, really excels. And I think Star's the type of player, after watching yourself play one time, okay, where did I go wrong? How can I improve myself? I think Star comes back and is maybe a potential winner in the future. I think Star hits the home run, and I loved every soundbite that we got. I loved every moment of Star. It was the slow burn at the beginning. We didn't get much, but then when we started to get some, it was really excellent. And Star, you're the best. Love me some Star.
Yes.
Star was great. I want to know what Star did, because everyone hated Star, and I haven't got a clue where this has come from. Every single confessional we got from Star was a ray of joy. Yes. I thought that the song was unbelievable, much better than the chicken and waffle song, and I need Star back as well. Incredible character. And someone I think has got potential to be very strategic and was just on the wrong season with the wrong cast.
Yep.
Ah.
And that's fine, Adrian. You know what? We don't have to agree.
like I didn't not like Star, but and I'm sure we would get along in real life. It was just like I just didn't see the gameplay. I didn't see the dynamics out. Yeah, yeah, she was a character, but somebody like that is typically, when you're playing a game like this of social dynamics, she's loud, she's overt, she's a big character, and that usually makes it harder for people to want to pair with you. So no, I don't see Star as a winner if she ever comes back, and quite frankly, I just don't see a future where Star does come back, because there are so many other people that maybe not necessarily fit her exact mold, but we haven't had a returning season, and we're only getting 50 in 15 seasons. Like, she's competing with almost 300 people to get a spot. Do you really think they're going to waste a spot with Star?
I think Star gets a spot. I do. I think Star gets a spot for the reason alone with me saying Star benefits from watching the season and then coming back again and giving it another crack. Because some people, you see them watch an entire season, knowing their mistakes, knowing what they did wrong, and they come back and kill it.
She did everything wrong.
But that's my point being, you have to watch yourself. You have to watch yourself back sometimes. It really does benefit. And that's where we see people that do the back-to-back seasons, it can hurt them. Mm-hmm. For instance, Amanda's FTC would have been great for her to watch back and then maybe approve upon that in Micronesia.
Hans was the same thing, so
yeah, exactly. I'm saying they would benefit from watching their FTCs back and knowing what maybe the jury is potentially looking for. Now, don't get me wrong, Todd played an amazing game and crushed it, but I'm just saying I think she still benefits from watching it back.
Yeah, but that's just some people actually learn from that, because I think Star has her personality and she is who she is. Mm-hmm. I mean, I absolutely started liking Star like when she actually started getting more stuff. But I think that her personality is she's not going to change for anything. Even watching herself back, she's not going to go out there and be like, I'm going to be a different person. She's going to be like, no, I was amazing. I was fabulous. Yeah. I'm going to be that same person. So
she's going to be more of a Philip. Like, she'll come back and she'll be bigger.
She'll come back and she'll be doing the Joe strategy.
Don't compare her to Philip. Please do not.
Okay. So I'll compare her to...
Do you understand my point here is that she's like she's going to come back and she knows what got her on to the following season. So she's going to be bigger. And then people like that, typically when they go bigger, it seems more facetious and they don't hit the second time around. A la Philip Shepard. Now, Philip Shepard is a whole different type of person. Don't get me wrong. I'm not akin them in that realm. But I feel like Star would go bigger because they know that that's going to get them more screen time.
So I'll give you one that I completely respect. I'd say she's just like Tony. Tony came out, he won 28, he came back for Game Changers, and he tried to go bigger. Like Adrian said, he tried to become this big thing, and he was like, I'm going to go even louder. I'm going to do all this other stuff. And he was voted out third. I think that would be Star. I think if she did come back, she'd come back. She'd go, I'm going to be even more because she's like, I was quiet at the beginning. I didn't really talk to anybody. So she's going to come out just hitting the pavement running, and she's going to get a third boot out if she came back. She's going to be, and Tony had to come back 3 times in order to be like, oh, okay, I had to learn from that second time. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think if Star plays a third time, I think she's wonderful. She's going to win.
But I'm not completely convinced it is Star's fault. Like, Star somehow gave Eva an idol and still got dubbed as completely untrustworthy by Eva. Mm-hmm. Where did that come from? I'm not
That's
sure.
That's because Eva's clueless.
What was that?
Because Eva's clueless. That's honestly why.
Yeah, it is.
You're right. It wasn't Star's fault. It was Eva. Eva is completely clueless except for who she wants to work with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So going back to my point then, I need Star to be on a different starting tribe because I do think that she does have the personality, and I get where y'all are saying could go too big. I can see that, but I'm saying I do think there's a strategic bone in Star's body, but she didn't have the opportunity because I believe the season that she was on and the way it was already set up, she didn't have a concrete alliance that she ever really was in. So I think if Star can get that, I do think there is potential there.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Do you believe that what secrets was Star able to keep this season?
None. She would have told everybody everything right away.
That's my point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just don't see her as a reliable alliance partner because she's too loud.
Yeah.
And she
So,
went
like,
around
she's
and
in a
told
different
like
alliance. Like you say, she's going to be in a different alliance, and I'm like, who's going to let her in? Who's going to let in that volatility?
People work with Abby Maria. You know what I'm saying? Listen.
no.
Yes.
they took her as a goat.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Those stars can be a goat.
I just need to see it happen now because I'm just
You can
manifesting.
love Star. It's totally cool. You can stand that.
I am going to stand behind this. I will not back down from it. And
I don't think you're wrong. I
Well,
just think
okay.
you're wrong.
Point being, I would love to see Star back, and if it happens, I'd be very happy. That's all
I'd
I'm
be
going to
fine
end
with
it.
it. I'd be fine with it. I just don't think it's going to happen.
There's a lot of people from the season I would not like to see back. So
That's probably true.
Mm.
That's what we should do. We should make a podcast about like every week after the person gets voted out, will they come back?
Mary?
Yeah.
So will Mary come back?
Will
I
Mary
just
come
see
back?
Mary coming
Chance
back.
for Mary.
Mhm.
Like, I honestly think, like what you were sitting there saying, if production was going to save anybody, I think they would have been saving Mary. I think that they would have kept her just
Okay.
because she is a very loud personality. I had the pleasure of meeting that woman, and yeah, she's a very loud personality.
in a bad way or a good way?
I don't know. Her reflection seemed like it was a bad way.
I'm putting you on the spot because you said I met the
She's
person.
listening. You know that, right?
I don't care. She was very boisterous, and she did not let other people talk. So, like, every time somebody else tried to talk, she would have to throw her opinion into it and sit there and be like, you guys need to listen to me. Like, there was a point that David was actually giving a speech, and she got up and she was like, now let me tell you exactly how it happened, like in the middle of him talking. Like, every single time somebody, now granted, she was really, 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 really drunk. So that could have had a factor in it. So
Fair. But yeah, I mean, like people who are, less subdued than others are difficult to align with. And I think that's another good point right there. So,
but I think Mary was trying to comply with whatever people wanted her to do, but she was trying to also run her own agenda.
Mhm.
Just unfortunately. So I personally think that if production was going to try to save anybody, they were going to try to save her, because she was literally the one that was like, I will do anything to get to the next step.
Yeah. But I do think Mary completely threw herself under the bus. Like, if Mary hadn't been doing the whole, this is what you're telling me, but we all know that that's not true. You're telling me you have this plan to get rid of Joe, but who's to believe that? And the whole perception is reality thing. I think if Mary had just stayed quiet and agreed with everything that was being said, there was a much better chance they could go for Joe. But the fact that Mary didn't have faith in the others meant that they couldn't have faith in Mary.
Mhm.
None of them have had faith in each other. Same thing with
No.
Mitch. Mitch couldn't trust Star. None of them could ever come together. And sometimes, whether you like the person or not, you just sometimes have to do it to get yourself further in the game and then drop them on another vote. And I think that's what was missing with all the people that weren't in the strong core alliance of this season. And I think that's where my frustration has come in. Do I dislike the strong four? No, I don't dislike them. I think they did what they had to do, and they found a way to all come together with having the same agenda, and they were successful with it. I am frustrated with everybody else. That's where I was upset.
Yeah,
Because you're not.
Yeah, no,
See,
that's 100% fair statement.
This is the same frustration that I had with Jake when Jake was playing. I mean, I was like, why is nobody working with this man? I was like, they literally have to sit there and go with him. He was Jake, that one that, you know who I'm talking about, the lawyer guy that got 0 votes.
Jake O'Kane, 45.
Jake O'Kane, yeah. He, to me, I was like, he was trying to play. He even tried to save, what's her name?
Katura.
And she like blew that up and made herself get voted out. It was like,
okay, that was hilarious though.
Yeah,
that was funny.
But it was still one of those things. It was like nobody was trusting him, And that's the same thing that's happening right now. All these people are like, well, we're going to go stick with these people that are completely loyal to each other because they're loyal. I don't know if they're envious of that loyalty or they're like, so they're looking at it like, I wish I had that. Meanwhile, this other person's like, hey, I'll be loyal to you. I'll be loyal to you. And they're like, no, I don't trust you to be loyal to me.
But Jake only started throwing that out in the last like 3 or 4 episodes of the season. And I can see it being exactly the same world here, where suddenly next episode they're all going to want to make a move. And it's just too late. And they haven't built this bond before to come together and do it. None of them like each other, like you said.
I mean, well, that's exactly what happened with Mitch. Mitch was like, I can't trust Star because she just wrote my name down last night.
Yeah.
So that became I'm not doing it because she wasn't loyal yesterday. So why should she be loyal today?
Yeah.
The game changes every day. And I think that's what some people are missing on this season. Just because someone writes your name down, okay, you might have been their plan last time, but also they want to work with you this time, and you might have to do that to get yourself further in the game. And it's just the way it is. You can't just have that one-sided mentality. Well, they wrote my name down. They wrote my name down. I can't ever trust them. You don't know that.
Yeah.
But you have to look at the dynamics of what's going on the island. You're sitting there watching these people be so loyal to each other. And you're like, how come I don't have that? I mean, that's a mentality. That's a mental thing that you're sitting there like, you're watching this and you're like, they're loyal to each other. But this person wants me to be loyal, but they weren't loyal to me last time. I mean, that has to be a mental mind screw. I cleaned that up. So
no, you're absolutely right. It's just like these people, like, you could be loyal to somebody or you can work with somebody. It's not even necessarily being loyal to somebody. It's being able to work with somebody for a mutual benefit. And I feel like we're losing that this season. People aren't seeing the forest for the trees. They're just looking at the people and say, like, do I trust that person? If I don't trust that person, I can't work with them. They're not noticing that, because if you have a mutual beneficial move to make, that you can work with people outside of who you trust based on the fact that they have very few other choices. And that's a narrative that we are not being fed at all this season, because on the island, the ever-going narrative is loyalty, 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 loyalty. And the strong 6/strong 5/strong 4 have done a very good job of crafting that narrative on the island, that if you are not loyal to people, you don't have votes.
Yeah. If they can't even work together because someone voted their name the night before for $1 million, like, I think they keep forgetting that they're playing for $1 million, then they don't deserve it. Or $600 after Obama takes his cut. But the fact that they won't even work together for that money, like, just because of one singular vote, like, come on, get over yourself.
They're scared. They're scared. And scared money doesn't win.
You have to take risks. And this is why I love Australian Survivor, because you see in that show, they will write their name down, and then the next day they're working together because they say, you know what, I really don't necessarily like you, but I want to get further in this game, and we need to come together and make this plan work, because that's the only way we're not getting booted next.
And it feels like they love Survivor more. Like Miles, for example, like, he was doing it for the love of the game, whereas it just doesn't feel like that currently watching 48.
Well, 48, a lot of them have sat there and said they weren't big fans of it before. Like, Joe sat there and said he used to watch it with his sister, but he hasn't watched it in a long time. And, like, when they asked him who his favorite Survivor player or winner was, he gave some, like, weird name that wasn't even a winner, and everybody made fun of it for a long time. David never watched Survivor. I mean, there's so many people that haven't watched Survivor. They're just like, I could play this, and they could do it. So I personally don't mind it when somebody comes in that has never watched Survivor, because I don't like all the people that come in and, like, I know everything about the aspect of it. And it's like, okay, are you going to play you, or are you going to play something that you think should be you? So, you know, maybe, and that's maybe why I think this season is great, because I'm like, I'm actually seeing real people out there, not just players. I don't know.
Good point.
Is a good point. You're not just getting all the game bots, which you see time after time. There's personality with it, because some people, as you said, didn't really know necessarily what they were getting themselves into, and they do recommend to watch particular seasons, but do they actually do that? We don't know. They might just step out there and say, I guess this is how the game's supposed to be played, but I have no background knowledge of really how it is played.
I mean, it's like you guys, when you guys do your betting thing, you sit there and say you don't watch all the preseason interviews because you want to go in blind and sit there and see how these people are. That's the same kind of aspect of it. So, I mean, I appreciate when people come in not knowing the seasons before, but I also appreciate when people come in knowing the seasons because they could just sit there and, but as long as you're being true to yourself, I think that's the best gameplay. It's just the last couple seasons, it has been, I know everything about this show and I'm going to sit there and start rambling off history and all this other stuff. And it's like, okay, I don't want you to come in playing like how Russell Hantz played. I seen him play. I don't want you coming in playing like somebody else. I want you coming in playing like you. So
100%.
No, I agree.
Yeah, no, and like we've entered an era. Well, actually, you know what? Let's say this. I am very glad that we are getting a point of view like this because this proves 48 proves that you don't necessarily need to have watched the show in order to do well on it. So it doesn't matter who you are coming into this game. It doesn't matter if you are a super fan. It doesn't matter if you are fresh off the street. You can do well in this game. Whether or not it's compelling television, that's a whole other story. But like you said, like Joe barely watched the show beforehand. He's doing great, even though I think he's going to fumble the end. But, you know, somebody like, let's say, Aisha Welch, Aisha from Rob Has a Podcast. Sorry, we're not supposed to talk about that. But she was out third, you know, like she knows Survivor. It's not in your knowledge of the show has no bearing, zero bearing on whether or not you're going to do well on that show. So
no,
I'm glad we're seeing it go the other way.
Yeah.
My issue isn't at all that they don't know the show. It's just that they're not that interesting. Long and short of it.
Yeah, I want to see them fight. I want somebody to be on the island that is talking about it the way we are. And even if that's in confessional, you know, I want to see somebody who's upset. I want to see somebody who is angry at Mitch for not making the move. I want to hear that. I want someone to express the frustration that we as the viewership have.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Star and David got voted out, so we can't hear those confessionals anymore. Because those were the people that were going to bring that. Right now, we have the confession. But I do agree with that. I wish that there was more like insight of what's going on in the background. Not the flashbacks are kind of cool. But I thought it was a great flashback when they sat there and showed the setup of the paranoia of David with Kyle and Shaheen basically planting it in. And I was like, but if that would have been a confessional, them showing and being like, oh, I've been doing this whole entire time. That would have been great. I mean, I missed the days of the confessional of Johnny Fairplay. My grandma's at home watching Jerry Springer, knowing it was a full bullshit lie the whole entire time. So, you know, those are the kind of confessionals that I miss. I mean, Boston Rob was great at that. He would come out and give his confessional saying, this is actually what's going in my mind. But then you watch him play and you're like, that's not exactly at all what he said, but it's so cool to watch, you know? So I do miss that. And that doesn't seem to be happening at all this season. You're absolutely right on that. I
don't think it's been happening really since 41.
With the exception of Kyle and Camilla constantly, oh, we have our secret alliance. We're a secret alliance. We're a secret. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
That's great.
You know what I miss? I miss the intense arguments, the fights. I mean, give me some Alicia and Kimmy, you know, throwing it back all the way to that. I loved that stuff because and I think that's really why they started doing this, because you're bringing people from so many different walks of life and there's going to be conflict. And us as a viewer, I want the conflict. I want the disagreement. I don't want all the kumbaya.
I loved David. He brought so much.
He brought conflict. And like I saw somebody say this, and it's very, very true. It's like this past episode, we got a ton of people telling their life stories, and how similar were all of those stories. You know, they're like we were supposed to get 18 different people from 18 different walks of life, and it feels like we're getting 18 people from 3 different walks of life. and it just doesn't create that animosity or that conflict that we like to see as viewers. There are three things that sell television or entertainment. It's sex, conflict, and humor. And we're missing two of those. We do get some humor every so often, and I don't think we're going to get sex anytime soon. So give me the conflict. Give me conflict.
Don't get it twisted, Adrian. People have hooked up on the season.
I know Joe and
They
Shane
just don't show it.
with each other.
No, Kara Moen was a hookup. I don't know if y'all remember that, but that was a hookup there.
Baby
had
Boykin
and Reynolds on the same tribe.
But that's like those are the things that we want to see as viewership, you know, and Survivor has just gotten away from some of it. They're starting to ease it back in. I see it. Like they're casting people like Rome. They're casting people like Say. We just need a little bit more. Just a little bit more.
Yeah.
Too much more. I don't want like full bands. Yeah. Like we don't need like assholes.
I think Say and Rome, they are such the same person.
Oh yeah.
That it's like, but and it's not that they brought conflict, they just were so selfish.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Survivor is a selfish game. There's only
I get that, but I have such a problem with when they sit there and I'm so mad because somebody wrote my name down. It's gonna happen.
Mm-hmm.
You just got to move on to the next one. It really is. Yeah. I mean, it's gonna happen. Just move on and learn how to grow from it. The next one. So, but when somebody just like, I didn't like Sue on that thing. I didn't like Say on. I can't stand when I hear it over and over. Like Sue stuck on Kyle. He voted me out the first time. He voted my name, and that lasted all the way through the whole entire show. It's like, get over it. It's like,
jeez, tell us how you really feel. I mean, listen. When Say went and snagged that thing from Charity, the advantage, that's one of my favorite moments because it's just out of the woodwork. You think Charity's going to get it and just boom, there comes Say right out of the woods and just snatches it. I think that's what I'm missing here at this end game. Just kind of not even theatrics of it all, if you will. It's just more entertainment in the sense of I'm not seeing the redundancy. I'm seeing some flashes of, oh my goodness, this just came out of nowhere. And that was a moment where that came out of nowhere. We're expecting this as viewers to see Charity get this. And then all of a sudden just Say gets it. And I think that's what I'm missing with the sense of they're building each episode for us to see the specific outcome. And it doesn't go that way. And we get what we were predicting.
Did you got 4 betrayed?
What?
I said, did you feel you got 4 betrayed on that?
Yeah, a little bit.
Got 4 betrayal? Come on. Am I the only one that's watched that challenge and Joe sitting there saying got 4 betrayal?
No, I got you. I
got
you, but I'm just saying. Do you want to go there? Do you want to go there?
I think people are just too intensely aware of like public perception now. Back in the day with like Alicia and Kimmy, you didn't have social media saying, oh, these people are terrible people. You had interviews after the show, but after a couple of weeks, after a couple of months, it sort of died down.
Yeah.
Nowadays, they all know that people are watching them and scrutinize them so much. A podcast like this, talking about them, and they don't want to be perceived as bad people. So they try so hard to not be and worry too much about the audience at home.
I think it's worked out really great for Saya. I think was portrayed perceived as a bad person, and I think that she's gotten so much more from it after that.
And I agree. I think Say, though, didn't go in worried about how people on the outside would perceive her. I think she went in, was unapologetically herself, and people have respected that and seen it as a good thing. But I think lots of people do come in thinking, I can't do anything bad. I need to be seen as good. I want people in my everyday life to see me as a good person, and that ends up screwing them over.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. I mean, people are way too cognizant of the public when watching it. I totally agree with you.
Yeah,
it sucks.
It does. The public can be very brutal, but when we're podcasting, we are talking about the specific gameplay that we're seeing, the people that we're seeing on the show. And I think some people don't do that. You see the comments of what they're saying. You are forgetting that you are watching a television show. This is them being portrayed as characters. They can be a completely different person outside of, and you're getting the small snippet of an edit. So you're not seeing exactly what's going on. It's being picked and choose from production of what they're deciding to show. And I think it's unfair to the players. And I get why they're timid when they go out there potentially, because they don't want to be perceived in some light that doesn't fully represent them. That is a piece of them. Do they say those things? Absolutely they do. But they shouldn't be nitpicked for going out there and trying to play a game and trying to win a game.
Yeah.
Oh, and that's all this season has been so far. Everybody's been nitpicking, and they're saying this is the most horrible season because people are playing the game that's best benefiting them.
Yes. Well, it's a matter of we have to. Geez, like these people have to be able to put that aside in order to win, and that's like. It's very difficult to do it when you have the threat. Like, you can't change this. You can't change social media. You can't change the public perception. But regardless of whatever you do on the island, people are not going to like it. All right. Whether it's column A or column B doesn't like it, you're going to get blasted one way or another. So just play the way that you want to fucking win.
Yeah.
Yep.
Don't worry about like what's going to happen afterwards is going to happen afterwards, and either way, you're going to have people who hate you.
Yeah,
you know, like Joe and Eva is a great example of that. They had one of the most positive, an amazing pre-merges that we've ever seen in the history of the show, and now half the people hate them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like it doesn't matter. You're damned if you do. You're damned if you don't. If you go on to the show, regardless of whatever you do on that show, you are going to get scrutinized. You are going to get bad messages. You are going to get, hate mail, blah, 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 blah. It doesn't matter. Just make the best television and play the hardest game that you can.
Yeah.
So what kind of move next made would make you guys feel better about the season? Like, if you've seen something happen and you're like, okay, this is now picked up again, what would that be?
I need Shaheen and Kyle to flip with Camilla and Mitch.
Okay.
I'll tell you what I need to see. I need to see Joe and Eva go to fire together.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
That would be a really good one. For me, I'm on Connor's side with this. I need Shaheen to come and shake it up a little bit. I think that would be very compelling, and also not necessarily even having to go to the end with Kyle. What if Shaheen just shakes it up and does a 180 and finds himself in the end with Camilla and Mitch? I just want to see something different happen and not be given the storyline from production in the edit. It's coming, and then nothing comes. That's what I don't want. If it's going to be played out the way that it is, I don't need a theatrics of just wait, because then that disappointment just comes.
I need a final tribal council where David decides he's going to fight with Joe, and whoever wins.
and a big glass of chocolate milk is what they get at the end.
Yeah. And that's the survival we made along the way.
Yeah, to that point, I would want to see a return to the original tribal or final tribal format. I want to see individuals get up and make their own points, because I have a feeling that we're not going to get that, and we're not going to get those one-on-ones that we want to see for that closure.
Yeah.
Because I want to see people hold Joe or Eva or both of them if they're both at final. But I want to see people hold the freaking magnifying glass up to them and the mirror to their faces so they can see the game that they played.
Yeah.
Oh, I think that's going to happen.
Yeah.
I
want to see that.
Because...
I want to see like Joe and Eva in fire. And I want to see Joe basically say like, I'm not building a fire. I want him to throw his game.
I would have a tough time. I know you want to see that. I just would have a tough time. Listen, he's been there for her since day one, but I do not, in my heart of hearts, believe that he would give up a shot at $1 million just to let her win the fire.
Would it be good TV?
I do keep going back to that confessional, and like episode 1 where he said that he'd fall on his sword for Eva, and I feel like they did show us that for a reason. I feel like that could be.
So how would you feel if?
And then Eva loses in the final tribal.
So
neither
how
one
would
of them
you
get
feel if Eva wins immunity next, and I think the next time is the last time she used any of her advantages, right? Or is that at 5?
Well, the safety without power is done.
That's confirmed.
It is.
Well, I thought it was
I thought
good
it was
until
at 6.
Was it 7 or 6?
I thought it was good till final 7. No, am I wrong?
I thought it was 6.
Sure.
I don't either. Yeah, not sure.
I'm checking it after this. Actually, no. Keep talking. I'm gonna find.
Okay, so what if Eva wins and she doesn't play her idol or do the knowledge or the advantage of power to save Joe, but she decides to save like Kyle because they're thinking that it's Kyle or something because she has no read on anybody, and so she just gets to pick somebody, and then Joe ends up going out. Would that be dramatic enough for that? Because everybody will be like, she could have saved Joe. She should have saved Joe. Because you know how the edit looks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or if she doesn't play it at all and saves nobody.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's very, very possible too. And then to me, that would be just like such a nothing burger. Like, seeing at this point, it's been like fed to us. I want to see Joe and Eva and the Strong stay together, and then I want to see them eat themselves. That's what I want to see.
See, and my scenario at the end is Eva, Joe, and Kyle being able to play every single thing that he did, and basically even Joe having nothing. And so
yeah, I think Eva and Joe should be. If Eva or Joe win this season, ultimately, I think it's a nothing burger. But I want to see them forced to turn on each other at some point, or. Actually, no, that's what I want to see. That's what would make it compelling for me.
If they do turn on each other. By the way, I did find it. It says after the final 7.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I did find it. But I agree full-heartedly with you. If there is a moment where they have to make the choice, the decision that they have to break up some way, perfect. Give me that all day long. I love the drama. And I know some people do want to see that storyline pan out where they make it to the end together. But I think that'd be horrible for both of them because it's better to have one of them on the jury. So you at least, you have one guaranteed vote from somebody, and then you have to pitch your case to the rest of the people. Because as you said, Melissa, it is so important to have someone on that jury to advocate for you, which in turn, you would want Joe to be on the jury because Joe is probably going to advocate much better for Eva versus Eva advocating for Joe to win the game.
Yeah. So with that being a final 7 thing that she had to use it last tribal, that really makes you wonder why she didn't hand it to Joe if he was even a little paranoid about being voted to let him leave and that everybody still vote Mary. So I hate that part that it's missing something that we didn't see that made them feel so comfortable with keeping Joe there.
That's why I'm frustrated with we finally have 90-minute episodes, but there's still many holes versus other seasons that only have had the 60-minute episodes. I don't have a hole. I got what knowledge I needed to know from the episode to explain to me how the dynamic shifted and changed for the outcome to be the outcome.
Because knowing that was only the last time she could use that, then you would have really thought that it would have been like, okay, I'm going to go pass this to Joe and he could go ahead and leave. So that way he doesn't have to be paranoid at all. Nobody could vote for him. So.
Or do you think Eva is going the route of, say, Marianne potentially, where you're proving a point? I have these things. I didn't have to play them because I was so confident in my alliance and my knowledge to what was going on in the game that I didn't have to utilize these at all.
Yeah, no.
Interesting.
Listen, I'm making a point though.
I mean, Marianne had.
But it could be interested.
Marianne had at least the advantage of it. It was a secret. Everybody knows everything that Ava has, so it's not a secret.
Does everyone know about the knowledge is power? Just like
she didn't get the knowledge of power.
Not knowledge of power. Safety without power. Sorry.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, it's like there's got to be a reason that they're not targeting Eva, and I'm pretty sure that reason is that I don't think that she's a jury threat.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's going to vote for her to win. Everybody says like if she was more of a threat, then they would be talking about it at least. And I just don't think that she's going to win at all. I don't think that she's a jury threat in any way.
Looking at the jury we've currently got, though, do you think like the story of the season is somehow a Mitch sneaks into the final three, somehow a Camilla sneaks into the final three, and then they win with 90% of the jury votes?
If Mitch wins this season, the
edit makes no sense for that.
Yeah, because what is Mitch? What is Mitch's edit? Mitch, lovely human being. I am so happy Mitch is on the show.
He was amazing at first.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Mitch has had some really good confessionals, but I'm talking about the end game that we're seeing. If Mitch makes it to the end of this game and wins, you need to talk to whoever's editing and production because they did a shit job then.
It would be stupid, but I can't see Chrissy, Cedric, and David now, Mary now, voting for Joe over a Mitch or a Camilla.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Joe's pissed a lot of people off, but I think if it's like Joe, Eva, and Mitch in the final three, maybe there's a configuration where Mitch can get half the votes, more than half. But yeah, apart from that, I think if anybody else is in the final three, I think Mitch loses.
But what has Mitch led this season? That's what I'm saying. Even if Mitch is sitting with Joe and Eva,
that would just be bitter.
If it's a bitter jury, it's a bitter jury, and Mitch wins.
Well, you can win being likable. We've seen it before. You can win being likable, which
is Mitch Natalie White. Is that the story of the season?
Honestly, all right, Connor, now you're getting this theory stuck in my mind. Now, here we go. I would be happy for Mitch in the sense I think they're a delightful person. But if we're talking gameplay and the show that I enjoy as a viewer watching, I want to see someone that at least made some moves or was part of something bigger and just wasn't there, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But you know what? Mitch has the opportunity right here to have some sort of end game. Mitch has the ability to go to an alliance and say to Shaheen, to Kyle, to Camilla, what are we doing? We have let two people basically that we have known about since episode 3, 4, whatever it may be, that they are this tight duo. Why are we letting this happen? And I do think Mitch could make a case to maybe shift some people's mindset. But then what I think is going to happen is that Shaheen and Kyle would get the credit for the move being had and saying that we pulled in Mitch and Camilla, not Mitch pulling in Kyle and Shaheen. That's what I think it comes down to.
Yeah. I can see that.
There's so many scenarios you can't predict.
Yeah, there's so many.
I'd love a Kyle or Camilla win. That would be like my most satisfying ending, I think.
I'd be fine with a Kyle. I don't think I'd be fine with Camilla winning. I mean, I'd be fine with anybody winning. I really don't care at the end of the day. Once the season's over, it's over. But it's right now, I just think that Kyle's been pulling Camilla along so much that she really has nothing behind her except for what Kyle's done for her. Everything that she's tried to do, even with Kyle setting her up at the bat, getting that little thing, everything she hasn't been able to pull off. She hasn't done anything except for keep her secret alliance with Kyle. Kyle has worked his butt off for everything for her to stay there. So
I think she had a great
I'm not.
But then
she did have a good pre-merge, but jury a lot of the time doesn't really care about the pre-merge. However, I will make your one point though, Connor, with this. If Kyle is on that jury and then Camilla does explain, we had this secret alliance where I was still informed and getting information that y'all didn't know I was receiving at all. You thought I was completely in the dark, didn't know what was exactly happening, but I was being told because I created that strong bond with somebody. There was a known bond in this game, but this was the secret bond where I was able to figure out what was happening and y'all didn't have any clue about it. You might have a pitch.
And that right there, that alone pitch right there would give David the ego of, see, I told you guys, I knew I was right. and he'll vote for that just because of the fact that he'll sit there and say, I was 100% right on that. So,
So I think
Kyle has
Yes.
to not be at the final for that to happen.
correct.
He needs to be on the jury.
Camilla needs to sit at the end of this game with Kyle, not at the end. And I actually now, after saying what I said, I think Camilla could take this game if Camilla gets to them without Kyle. If Kyle's there, no chance.
but I think Kyle will get her out before then. I think Kyle will send her back into the journey to go advocate for him. Just because I think that's how his mind works.
Yeah, I just don't see the votes going in a way where I don't see where Kyle, like, who's voting for Kyle right now?
If Kyle gets to the end,
I'm just saying, like, who's voting out Kyle right now?
Nobody's voting out Kyle.
I don't think so.
Kyle
No.
is actually in the perfect spot for everybody. And that's why I think that it was smart for him not to flip on Joe this last time.
Yeah.
Is to keep him there, to play that loyalty thing. And like I said, but I've thought about it, like you said, a lot more than you have.
Yeah, they need to keep Kyle because they need somebody who can go toe-to-toe physically against Joe. So they can hopefully get Joe out. So that insulates Kyle. So they need somebody who can compete with him.
They're not going to be all spelling challenges.
Yeah, yeah. And even then, he almost won.
Yeah. If you would have just switched those two.
Yeah, yeah. So it's like I definitely see a world where Joe wins the rest of the immunity challenges and maybe loses final 4 and then goes to fire making. That's my hope.
Well, at least this season isn't predictable.
Yeah,
that is true.
Joe wins. But
yeah, I say it's a Kyle win. That's my vote.
Yeah.
I'm going to go Kyle win too. I think it's going to be a Kyle vote. Kyle win.
I'm going to throw out Shaheen.
Okay. Lauren?
I convinced myself, Camilla, a second ago. If we get the scenario where Kyle is on the jury, I have now since convinced myself if Camilla gets to FCC without Kyle, I think Camilla takes it. And I wasn't coming in feeling that way, but I then decided I can convince myself of something, which is fantastic. So,
all right, so who's out next week then?
So the predictable one is Mitch.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm hoping that because they keep hyping up something big, that it's not Mitch. And we see some type of shakeup where it's an Eva or Joe boot or even a Shaheen boot, maybe.
I would tell you that I'd be like jaw dropped if it was Kyle. I could see it being Kyle because because of the preview with him sitting there, Shaheen flipped on you, telling Joe and Ava, and Joe and Ava were actually closer with Shaheen to begin with. So if they go and confront him, and then they get Mitch on their side, and they could vote out Kyle, I mean that would be a jaw dropping moment for me if I see all of a sudden Kyle get out. It'll be, but I could see that happening though too because of the way the preview has played out.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna go with a Shaheen boot.
I've been dreaming of a situation where Eva goes to play the idol for Joe. Joe says, don't play the idol for me, play it for yourself. And then Joe goes home. But I'm convinced that it's going to be, we're getting told it's Mitch all episode. And it's either Mitch or at the last second it's Camilla.
Yeah. The way I see it going down is I see Joe winning immunity and I see Eva playing the idol because they know that they're getting targeted. And who is the next best target from there? I think now is the time that Kyle and Camilla need to like pull the wool off. And I think they're gonna have to because they can't vote out Mitch. He's the only playing piece left for them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just would have said that 4 weeks ago as well, and we're still here.
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't want to. I just don't want to make a boring prediction. I think that's. I think that's. Otherwise, yes, it's going to be Mitch. You tuned in for an hour and 20 minutes for that.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Listen, I thought we were on the up and up after the David boot potentially, and it just hasn't been. And that's okay. That's what I'm saying. There's still time for this season for something dramatic and epic to happen. As you said, Melissa, if for some reason Kyle were to go, great. I'd be fine with it because we aren't necessarily foreseeing that based on what we're getting thus far.
Yeah.
Well, do we have anything else to cover for 48? We've done our predictions.
No, all good.
No, that's chill. I think that's a wrap.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's a wrap. I'm excited to see what does happen because the end game is so crucial for a winner. And I want to see some people make some last minute moves to hopefully help propel them to sit in front of the jury and plead a case to win the game.
Yeah, no, this is like Ghost Island. I think that's what we're looking at. We're just, great pre-merge, terrible post-merge, predictable, and then maybe a really good finale.
Yeah.
I've really enjoyed the season. I think it's one of the best seasons of the new era. So I'm the one that's in the minority on this, but I've also been waiting for a season like this for a while. So.
And see, you still have some people that are happy. You have some people that are just craving a little bit more. And that's why it's so exciting because everyone has a different mindset of what they think is a good season, what they enjoy watching.
Yep.
Yeah.
For sure.
All right. Well, with that being said, Melissa, Adrian, Connor, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast, Reality After Show. Be sure to look on the be sure to look out for everything that Johnny and Matt and Wayne and Bobby do for the Reality After Show. They are covering Survivor after each and every single episode. They've had Gabe on as a guest for some of the season, and be sure to check him out because Gabe really does say some interesting information and has brought a lot. So look out for Gabe on the podcast if he is a future guest. And with that, we'll be back at the end of the season to give our final wrap. Where does the season land and how it all shakes up and ends? So with that, thank you so much. Y'all take care.
Bye.